Adam Minter, who also writes for The Atlantic sometimes. But he tells you everything you know, more than you'd ever want to know about the ins and outs of this, and it's a messy story.
Yeah, I just realized that it's already 6:39, right? Time flies. So I think I'm going to collect questions one by one and then let the speakers to answer in the questions. Okay, Jiwei and Daniel.
I want the panelists maybe to say a little bit more about Expo effects. In terms of the relation between China and the rest of the world, because we're aware that Expo is like a show, an affirmation of what is already going on, what is already there. It is like projecting an image that we have, spectacles. So how is it translated into real-world politics? And how is it? How do Americans view Chinese? I mean, through this event. And what I mean is, maybe this is just our one-sided enthusiasm. Nobody really takes it as a big deal. It's a party that some people go to, but most just don't care. I just wonder how you.
I'm going to collect questions and then let the speakers to talk about that one by one.
Thank you. I would like to comment that it was really interesting to see about the changes that Shanghai went through, especially in Professor Wu's presentation about how, how Shanghai didn't really transform until the 1990s and whatnot, especially during the building of the Oriental Pearl, and how the rapid modernization can be seen through at this point now, especially that I've seen it also from my 2 visits from Shanghai as a child and as towards my study abroad trip. So I would like to ask since from this huge rapid change and modernization through Shanghai, do you think it'll cause in the future negative effects, or will it be a more positive effect towards the modernization of Shanghai and the urbanization areas, and will it affect other cities in the long run as well?
Hi, sorry. I just would like to understand a little bit more on going back to the compensation and choices that you guys were talking about for people within the city and relocations. Are people in the outside districts, for instance, in the area of the port that the island that Shanghai purchased or acquired through some agreement, are they given the same or equal choices and equivalent values of compensation in compared to natives of Shanghai? That's really it.
I have a question, maybe open to all of you. I don't know who to address this question to. Because I have viewed the architecture from the Shanghai Expo website, and I think that it surprises me that the architecture from the Chinese side, the Chinese pavilion and the visitor center, actually they are so conservative, when compared to the Beijing Olympic game architecture. For example, the water cube, 水立方, it's so futuristic. But the Shanghai architecture, the visitor center, the pavilion, visitor center even uses the notion of the 老虎窗, tiger window, right? The tiger window actually is a colonial thing, because the Shanghai people, they pronounce roof as a 老虎, and then they translate this back into tiger window. So it's actually confuses me, because I think Jeffrey, in your slides, I saw the giant baby, right? And also the young woman running, jogging. And this is the notion of getting new, newness. But then why they used a lot of traditional elements in their architecture, because I think Shanghai has more reason, as compared to Beijing, Shanghai has more reason to show the technology, the futuristic technology part. So why is that? So that's my question.
Any more questions? All right, I think you can answer the question. Starting from.
I'll just start with a brief note on our first question. I think in talking about the ways in which China seems to not be being seen in a certain respect here in the States, that says more about the United States right now, actually, than China on a global scene. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that, but I was thinking also of the complexities of our own organization for a pavilion there and the complexities of our own economy, this retreat into an American isolation, in a sense. I think there's something really active happening that way.
Well, a couple of things on this. First of all, I think World's Fairs have always been most important for the domestic. And most people who go to every World's Fair have been people in the country itself. So it's not surprising that there's a lot more excitement in China than anywhere else about the expo. The other thing is the U.S. and China aren't the only things around. And in fact, I think what's really striking about 2010, in 2008, I think the most memorable thing about 2008 was banishing this notion that what are the chances of China being modern, but rather saying China is so modern, can the world and China survive a modern China? What's the impact? But I think 2010, in some ways, the big story isn't China. The big story is there's a giant building going on in New Delhi that's very similar to the Shanghai building for the Commonwealth Games that are going to be held in India, which will be the largest scale sports event that India has held that's seen by some as a kind of test for the Olympics. The World Cup is being held in South Africa. So simultaneously, that's another event that everybody cares about except Americans. But anyway, these are three massive events that are taking place all outside of the traditional centers of the West.